Hello, and welcome to the grade 10 applied math class on volume of composite shapes. So composite meaning more than one shape put together. And we're looking at them with 3D shapes, okay? So for the first question here, it says state the names of the deconstructed shapes and then find the volume of the composite shapes. So when it says deconstructed, it means what two shapes or three or four, depending on the picture, do you see here? Okay, so the top shape here is a what? Cylinder? It's like half a cylinder, right? And the bottom shape is a rectangular prism. So I'm going to write first rectangular prism. I'm going to do that first. And then here it's going to be a cylinder. But if you take a look at it, it's like a cylinder cut in half. So then I'm going to write divide by 2 because we're cutting it in half, okay? And we'll get into that in a minute. So for the volume of the rectangular prism, if you look at your formula sheet, the equation is length times width times height, okay? So when you take a look at your sheet here, you want to label them. So length times your width times your height. So the length is 9 times your width is 11 and your height is 6. Okay, when you punch that into your calculator, you should get 594 millimeters cubed. Okay, so that's just for the rectangular prism. So I'm just going to put an underline there because we're going to need that. And then for the cylinder, okay, take a look at the formula for the cylinder. Its volume is equal to pi times radius squared times height. Okay, and then in this case, I'm going to put this in a different color to say, okay, we know we're going to divide it by 2 after though. Okay, so here we're just going to use, you can either use the pi button on your calculator or you can use 3.14. Okay, and your radius, if you take a look at this, the radius is halfway in between, you know, the circle, right? So if this whole thing is 9 millimeters, okay, what's half of that? 4.5 millimeters. Okay, so then this is 4.5, close the bracket squared, and then your height is, okay, the height, when you look at your picture, the height is actually this length here. So height is 11 millimeters for the cylinder. And the height for the rectangular prism is 6, right? Because they're different shapes. So this is 11. Okay, when we calculate this into our calculator, you should get something around 699. Not around, but yes. I'm going to quickly do that here. So 3.14 times 4.5 squared times 11. Yep, it's like 699.435. I'm just keeping it in there because don't forget, see this, we got to divide it by 2. Okay, so when we divide that by 2, we should get 349, and let's round this to 1 decimal place. So volume is millimeters cubed. And notice I put the little dot on top of the equal sign. Some of you, you probably would write it with a squiggly line if that's what you learned from your teachers before. That's just to signify that I've rounded this, okay? Because the number that I actually get is 349.7175, but you're not going to write all of the decimal places. We're just going to round to 1 decimal place for this question. So we have those 2 numbers there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add them together, this volume and this volume. So that's plus, so it took my answer from before, plus 594, and we get 943.7, okay? So the volume total, and I'm going to write total here, is 594 plus 349.7. So the total is 1,537.7. And again, that was, that was rounded. So there's my answer. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. I have my ruler here. Just gonna separate this. Okay, so for the next question, okay. What are the two shapes here? Notice that the top one is a cone and the bottom is a sphere. And if you look at the sphere, again, it's divided by 2. So, oh, I missed the P. So if you look at the sphere, it's like half a circle, right? Or half a sphere. So it's divided by 2. So let's do the cone first. So the formula for volume of a cone is pi times radius squared times height divided by 3. Okay, so if you look at the cone, let's label this. This is the height. This is the radius here. Okay, and that's all we need. So pi would be 3.14. Your radius is 6 squared, or you can use the pi button, by the way. And your height is 15. When you punch that into your calculator, you should get 1,695.6. Okay. Just keep, so again, I'm just going to underline this because I'm going to need that for later. And then for the sphere, the formula for volume of a sphere is 4 times pi times radius to the power of 3 divided by 3. Okay, and don't forget this over here. We're going to take half of it. Okay, so we'll do that part last. So we have 4 times 3.14, and what's the radius is 6. Okay. Instead of just copying this number down, because I'm going to do this in one step, you should get comfortable with your calculator and try to see if you can get the same answer as I do. Okay, so try to plug this in and see if you know how to do like 6 to the power of 3 on your calculator. And because you have to do everything on the top first and then divide it by 3. So we get 904.32. And I've rounded that and divide that by 2. We end up with 452.2 inches cubed. Okay, so again, I'm going to underline that because we need both of those two volumes and we need to add them together. So volume total is 1,695.6 plus 452.2. And that should give you 2,147.8. And don't forget your units, inches cubed. All right. Okay. And number 3, okay, it seems pretty straightforward, but not quite. You guys will see what I mean. I'm going to give you a hint. You're going to need to use the Pythagorean theorem in here. Okay, so for the shape on top, what is that called? It's a triangular prism. And the shape at the bottom is a rectangular prism. I'm going to write rectangular prism after because I'm going to see how much space I need in order to figure this out. Okay, so you don't have to divide anything in half or anything because they're the full shapes. So if you notice here, it says this is 5 centimeters. So the other side must also be 5 centimeters. Like these are all 5 centimeters. Okay, what's not 5 centimeters is this. So first I'm going to write the volume of the formula for volume of a triangular prism is base times length times height divided by 2. Okay, and if you bring up your formula sheet, you'll see, and we'll label this together. What is the base, what is the length, and what is the height in regards to just this triangle there? So triangular prism, sorry. So the base in this case is right here. So I want you to label that. The base is actually 6 centimeters. Okay. What's the length of this? this is actually the length here. If you drop down a right angle line with the base, this is actually the L. I'm running out of space. Okay. And then my height would actually be this. Okay. So my height is 20 centimeters. And I got that because this is the same length. Okay. So with that, I need the length and I don't have it. Okay. But there is a right angle triangle here. And that's the hint that I gave you that you're going to need to find, you're going to need to use the Pythagorean theorem. Okay. So I'm going to say find L below. Okay. So in order to do that, we have to remember what the Pythagorean theorem is. And it's c squared equals a squared plus b squared. And I hope all of you remember that c squared is the hypotenuse. Or c. Okay. The one that's on its own on the equal side, on one side of the equal sign is always the hypotenuse. Okay. The other two sides can be interchanged. Okay. So here, the hypotenuse, if you look at this as if it's just a triangle like this. So the hypotenuse is 5 centimeters. Okay. In this case, the B is this length here. You could use either the letter L or the letter B. What I need a squared is, here, if I can highlight it for you. The Pythagorean theorem only works if it's a right angle triangle. So that's a right angle and that's a triangle. So then we need this length here, or that base, which is, if this whole thing was 6, it's halfway. So this is actually, sorry, I don't have space. This is actually 3 centimeters right here. Okay. So that's what gives us 3 centimeters here. Okay, so when we do the calculations, 5 squared is 25 equals 9 squared plus b squared. Then use your skills with solving equations and you're going to isolate b. Okay, so you're going to have, oh, sorry, that square shouldn't be there. You're going to have 25. So that square shouldn't be there because I did 3 squared is actually equal to 9, right? What we're going to do is we're going to move this 9 over to the other side or get rid of this on the right side. So we need to subtract 9 from both sides. Okay, so if you like subtract 9 from there, what you end up with is this, okay? And then 25 minus 9 is 16 b squared. And then you need to still isolate b, and the opposite of squaring b or squaring anything would be the square root. So you take the square root of both sides, you should get, ran out of space. The square root of 16 is 4, and square root of b squared is just b. So this is what we're going to use. And when I say B, I hope that's not confusing. B in this case is the length here. Okay. Okay. So base is 6 centimeters. The base of the triangular prism, okay, is 6. You know what? Let's make this, sorry about my mistake. Let's make this a little easier so we don't have all these letters to deal with. Okay, ran out of whiteout. Let's make these like the L letter, okay? Sorry, I'm low on supplies right now, so I don't have whiteout anymore. So that's my L, okay? So the base of the triangle prism is 6. The length, or the L, is, you got that, it's 4. Multiply it by the height, which is right here, which is 20. Okay, so I'm going to do the calculations there. I should get 80. Okay, if I do this all in one shot, it should be 240 centimeters cubed. Again, pause the video and then see if you can plug this into your calculator and get the same answer as I do. I'm just trying to move through this so that you don't have to watch too much of my calculations. Okay, and then we're gonna get into the toughest part, sorry, is right here. Getting this, the length for the triangular prism. And then we're just gonna do, the other one is a rectangular prism. So volume is length times width times height. And then, so again, you can label this length times width, height. So the length is 6 times W is 20 times height is 10. So you should end up with 1200 in the centimeters cubed. So that's rectangular prism. This is a triangular prism. So the volume total is 240 plus 1200. So that should be 1440 centimeters cubed. And you're done. Okay. All right. So now complete the work from your booklet. All right. Have a good day. Bye.